I have a message to you this beautiful morning, and it's about the challenge of the Apostle Paul to the young preacher Timothy. Kindly open your Bibles in the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 4, verses 3 to 5. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables. But watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. May the Lord add more blessings upon the reading of God's holy words. As we all know, this is the final challenge of the Apostle Paul to the young preacher Timothy. He is challenging Timothy to be faithful in his responsibilities. He was called a preacher, he was called a pastor, young as he is, but he is blessed to have a mentor in the name of Paul the Apostle. Paul the Apostle is challenging the young preacher Timothy to be faithful and sincere in his obligations as called to be a pastor and also as a preacher. In the same message, this is also applicable to all of us. For whatever ministry we have, let us be sincere and let us put our hearts on the things that we do. This challenge was reinforced by Paul's reminder about the coming backsliding of God's people and even apostasy. These are not true believers and they will turn from their faith. Verse 5 says, But watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. I read it again for emphasis, but this is very important because I call this one the triple charge of the Apostle Paul to the young preacher Timothy. This is the theme of our message this morning, make full proof of thy ministry. Number 1, watch thou in all things. Paul is teaching us, not only Timothy, to be circumspect in all things, to watch in all things. How we deal with people, our words, our actions, how we deal with our neighbors, and how we deal even with strangers. Our words are not only the things that we utter, but how we say it. I still remember a man who was reprimanded by his aunt. And after the session, I say session, that is counseling, he said, had my auntie be the same in talking to me, I would have resented. You will see that the reaction of people is when they are provoked. But when the words that we say are not only kind words, but spoken kindly, then there is a good effect on the lives of the listeners. And there is a good effect on the ears of the listeners. And then, I also remember, in my busy days, one of my busy days, this is about temperament, dealing with our temperament. The story is, after my short visit for a member in the church who was hospitalized, I went in a hurry to the parking area, but I found out that my exit was blocked by another car. The engine was still running, but it's blocking my exit. It's a group Bible study in 15 minutes. It's coming up fast. And it will be held in the office of Manila Memorial Business Center, Davao branch. I have to hurry. But this car is blocking my exit. And so what I did is just start my little car's engine also, hoping to catch the attention of the other driver. But when I started the engine, nothing moved. And so I have to put my headlights on the high beam. But still, no movement. And then I put on the hazard lights. And then after a few seconds of waiting, still no movement. It's blocking my exit. So I used my horn. I don't usually use it, but this time I got 2 short beeps. Beep, beep. and waiting for a few seconds, no movement still. My patience was tested. I went near the car and I heard an elderly man in the front seat telling me that the driver is not in. The driver is also fetching his wife, and the wife is working also in the hospital. And so, with a little of my polite words, but demanding request, I said, I can help you. And I went to the driver's seat and I said, I'll help you move the car so that I can pass. There was no protest from them. While sitting on the driver's seat, however, I noticed in the back view mirror, in the rear view mirror of the car, two beautiful, cute little girls at the back seat with their Lola, an elderly woman. And then I turned around just to say maybe hello or maybe hi, but the woman recognized me. And she said, "Ay, Pastor Bonzo!" And she continued to introduce herself as the sister of one of our church members who was introduced to me barely a week ago. I forgot, but she remembered me. Now, I was telling myself, because I learned a lesson that time, had I acted arrogantly, had I acted unprofessionally, had I not watched my temperament, until today, I'd like to inform you, I would still be carrying the shame of what happened that evening. Let us watch our words. Make full proof of thy ministry. And even as I have learned a lesson, may I inform you also that the next opening of school year, these two beautiful, cute little girls were enrolled as RR and ABC's pupil at, guess where? At Green Meadow Christian Academy of Davao. Watch thou in all things. How you deal with strangers, how you deal with your neighbors, including our obligations, my friends. Ang utang, nako pastor, nasali pa ang utang. Yes, people look at us how we deal with our obligations. And if we are mindful that we have to pay our obligations, then we are showing a proof of who we are, believers in the Lord. I'll go to number 2 at this time. It's still found in verse 5. But watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, sufferings. There are. Before I enrolled in the Bible college, I worked for more than 8 years in a private company owned by the banana magnate in Davao, the Florindo family. There are problems in my job. There are instances that pressures would mount, but I have to endure. I also have worked in a non-government organization or an NGO for another 8 years. The Australian Baptist World Aid. It's quite enjoyable and the privileges are better, but we still have problems. I say enjoyable because we can visit communities and then help them, and their thank yous, yung mga salamat po, makes us happy. But still, instances that we have to endure for the cause of Christ. When the Apostle Paul reminded Timothy to endure affliction, it means that in the ministry and in any business, in any employment, there are things that we have to endure. But worry not, my friends, my brothers and my sisters. God's grace is sufficient. And through His grace, we can still show proof of our ministry. So, while School of Tomorrow's ministry is still connected with serving schools, with molding young lives of students, we can work together because we need each other. The third challenge of the Apostle Paul, however, it's still in verse 5. May I read it to you again? But watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. Do the work of an evangelist. As we understand it, an evangelist is a person who goes to some places, or maybe in his own place. He may have that street preaching or indoor, but he is preaching the gospel, spreading the gospel. That's an evangelist. But do you know that many times we could be, and we are evangelists also? We are spreading the gospel. When you serve schools, you become partner of how this godly system is being taught to the students. And thousands of children in the Philippines are using it, and you are the partners of the church schools spreading the gospel. You are, in a way, an evangelist. It is a ministry, and it's a big one. As you know, many of the generation that we have helped before have now become administrators, principals, teachers, godly parents, because you are a part of the ministry. You have been an evangelist, and you and I must continue to do it. As we serve the schools for Christ's sake, we are following what the challenges of the Apostle Paul to Timothy are. So please don't forget the triple charge. Watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, and that is making full proof of thy ministry. The Prince of the Preachers, Charles Haddon Spurgeon, said, "Visit many good books, but live in the Bible." This will also mean that as long as the ministries of our schools and School of Tomorrow Philippines subscribe by what the Bible teaches and instruct, we can still work together and making proof of our ministries. May the Lord continue to bless all of us, my dear brothers and sisters, and shalom to all of you.